What's up, y'all? So I made this kind of soulful R&B beat the other day, used a sample in it, and I wanted to walk through the workflow of everything that I did, hopefully show you a couple things. I think it came out pretty decent and would love to kind of share the whole process here. So in this video, I'm gonna break down how I cut up the sample, that process, how I did the bass and drums, how I kind of built the whole song out, some of the other melodies that I added, and I will also cover all the mixing that I did too. So I won't hold anything back, I'll just kind of go over everything that I did. So to start, let's just give you a sneak peek of what this sounds like. I thought this Tupac song, Dear Mama, sounded pretty good over it, so I just threw those vocals on it for fun. We'll leave them in here for this preview. Oops.
Young me and my mama had beef, 17 years old, kicked out on the streets. Though back at the time, I never thought I'd see her face. Ain't a woman alive that could take my mama's place. Suspended from school, I'm scared to go home. I was a fool with the big boys, breaking all the rules. Shed tears with my baby sister. Over the years, we was poor than other little kids. And even though we had different daddies.
Alright, so that's what it sounds like. To start, let's go to the sample. So for the first time ever, I actually used this arrangement tool, and I don't think I can go back to not using this tool. This thing is pretty cool. So I brought the sample in. This is where I started my session in FL, arrangement 1 or whatever. Brought the sample in right here, and then I made a couple cuts. I basically just went in manually, found a spot that sounded good, used this slicer tool, and then you can just draw a slice and it'll split this in two. Undo that. So I got this sample, thought it sounded pretty good. And then some of the vocals too, just for chorus or post-chorus, something like that. So that sounded pretty good. One thing with samples, you always want to, before you do any chopping or pitch, whatever, best practices, just get the tempo of the song up here. I have it at 92. I think I slowed it down, but get that matched up with the beat first, and then switch the sample over to stretch mode, and then you can adjust the tempo, you can adjust the pitch, and it'll make your life a lot easier. So for this one, what I like to do is pretty often slow it down and increase the pitch. So make it higher up, but also kind of slow it out a bit too. Just the combination of the two I really like to do, but there's really no rules when it comes to sampling. So this one I pitched up 700 cents, or 7 half steps. Slowed it down, I don't know, maybe like 10 to 20 BPM slower than the original. And I just got these chops. So the beauty of using this arrangement tool is you can just copy and paste the chops that you want to use, and then just put them in this, and then build the song out in this. And then if you want to go back and change anything or find another sample to use, you can go back to this arrangement 1 and basically go back to where you started and not have to worry about all the edits that you made in the other arrangement. So that I thought was a pretty cool trick. Started with this sample. There's no vocals in this, it's just kind of going. Kind of repeats like that. And then for effects, I wanted to make it sound good too. Kind of sound unique, right? So to start, I EQ'd it. Really important, you want to take out all the low ends, because there's some bass and drum, like kick drum, that's gonna come through and muddy up the low end if you leave it there. And then that doesn't leave a lot of room for you to put your own stuff in there. So cut that all out. And then I wanted this to sit kind of higher in the mix at these higher frequencies, so I boosted those. These low mid frequencies can get kind of muddy, so I cut these down a little bit. And then I kind of like the sound of this little curve that we got here. Then step 2, went to RC20. With RC20, I like to find a nice preset. This Final 4 sounded good. And then adjust these knobs a little bit. So I think I added some of this reverb, or the space knob right here. Might have turned the noise down a little bit, kept some wobble, distort a little bit. This plugin, it does cost money, but I really like it. It makes your samples sound good. It's got other uses as well. And then for effects, I added chorus. I just used Fruity Chorus. It comes with FL Studio, and I just left it as is. I didn't make any edits, but it was kind of strong by itself. So I did use this knob right here. If you can see this moving, to turn it down a little bit. Compression. Oh yeah, the kick was clipping a little bit from this, or it was just like peaking, and I didn't want to make the sample too quiet to avoid that getting in the way. So I put this limiter on there to kind of cut out the impact of the kick that was coming through from the sample. Lastly, I use this free plugin, Ozone Imager, and this creates stereo width. So in the stereo frequency, it kind of widens everything out.
Yeah, my mama
Kind of see, like,
had beats.
from that chart, it's taking up space further to the left and right. It's not just stuck in the center. So I like to use this one a lot, but this is definitely optional. And then from then on, I went straight to the bass. I kind of drove this beat around the bass, and I'll just play this part by itself. And bass, I like to really treat it as a rhythmic instrument. So I just had that kind of simple rhythm in my head. Boom, 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 boom. And it started there. So got the rhythm, kept it simple on these bass notes, and then I got some fills in. So this song is in the key of B major, or G sharp minor. And just got this fill in here. It's in the key, just borrowed notes from the key to go. Almost sounds like the Seinfeld fills that they do. And then this one's just octaves. And you could always program these in. In my case, I just played them out on the piano. This bass line wasn't super difficult to do on piano. And then you can move the notes around to make sure everything's quantized properly. And actually, when I quantize things, I like to do it manually, kind of perform surgery instead of just using the quantize button. But either one will work. And Nev's Tum variation, I switched it up a little bit here. I think the only thing I changed was this fill at the end. Instead of the big octaves, like here, where it just goes up and down, I just went up a couple notes in the scale, like. So it's on E. It's literally a couple of steps up. So little simple things like that can add a bit of flavor. I like to do that sometimes. So far we got the melody and the bass. Sounding pretty nice so far. And then drums. So I guess right here is where I have them all together. What was nice with this sample is there was an echoey snare coming through the sample. And I did layer that with a clap, but I turned the clap down because it's kind of meshed better with what was already there. And we'll turn this on. See if you notice the clap that's got like some reverb on it from the original sample. So kind of subtle in there, but from the sample there's like a little snare thing going on in the background. Kick and clap. It's pretty simple kick beat here. And I actually had triplets at this organizer triplets, if you notice that. You can change that over here on this magnet, 1/3 step. Didn't use triplets for everything, but it's kind of nice. I like triplets. Clap was just simple. Didn't do anything crazy here. And then hi-hats. With hi-hats, I always like to start with something like, we'll go right here. Oops. Let's highlight these. Something like this. So just going straight across, but with alternating velocities. So it sounds a little bit more like a human is actually playing it. And then I can go in and add a couple things, spice it up a bit. So I added this roll, kept it all right here on this note, but I made the velocities go up. A couple little, or let's do the roll again, and then coming out of the roll, we get this little added one here too. So I'll just play around with that. The hi-hats, it's just one of those things, you kind of use your ear. I don't like to pull in like pre-programmed midis from these packs that you get. It's kind of nice to customize it yourself for that individual song, which can be a little tedious, but at the end of the day, it takes like anywhere from 2 minutes to 5 minutes. It's not that much time to just customize everything yourself. Even if you're a beginner, like it's still, it's worth it. It's good practice to get in. Got the drums, bass, and then really the last thing I added here was this organ part. So the song's in B major, but the chords are E major, F sharp major, and E flat minor. So it's the minor third chord of the key, the fourth, which is major, and the fifth, which is also major. So it's kind of interesting, you're in the key of B, but you don't actually play a B chord at all. And kind of show you what these sound like. And this last chord is actually the same as the first one. It's an E major. It's just lower down. I use the same notes. So if you can see from the piano roll to the left, it's E, G sharp, and B, with an E in the bass. This one is the same. It's E, G sharp, and B, lower down, and then I added the seventh, the major seventh. So if you see this note D sharp, whoops, this note D sharp right here, makes it into a major 7 chord, just gives it a different feel. And then I alternated to the 9 to kind of make a little melody in here too. The 9 is kind of a jazzy thing you can do. Adds a bit more emotion to the chord. And then we got F sharp here. You can always move the notes around too. Just kind of practice with what sounds better. This or this, you know, either one. Oops. And then E flat minor, and I think oh no, I did not add the 7. Except right here. So as a transition type of note, I added the 7th. And it's the 7th of the chord, not the 7th of the key. So the full octave would come back to E flat, this is the root note. It's a minor chord, so the 7 is 2 notes down. So we have right here the root, that's 1, and then that's 2. There's your 7 for a minor chord. It's 2 notes down. That's what the minor 7 sounds like. And then it resolves. So the organ added a little bit of flavor in there too. All together, we have everything, all the busyness. We'll throw Tupac in there.
You always was committed. A poor single mother on welfare. Tell me how you did it. There's no way I can pay you back. But the plan is to show you that I understand. You all appreciate it.
And then the other part of the song, take Tupac out. So it's nice, we have all those vocals from the sample. There's actually no Tupac vocals in there, so you don't have those competing with each other. So it's kind of nice, just a little break coming out of the verse before it goes into the next verse. Now to get into the mixing. I already went over earlier what I did to the sample. Bass was the next thing I did. Super simple. Just did a sausage fattener, this plugin that I like. Just tweaked it a little bit, just turned both of these up a little bit. Really thickens the bass, makes it louder. It's just, I think it sounds good. Drums. So kick, didn't need to do anything. I just took out the lows from everything else. Same with the hi-hat. And I route everything to the drum bus. EQ this a little bit, kind of helps everything sound like it's coming from the same kit. Another way of doing that is parallel compression. So use Fruity Compressor, turn the ratio all the way up, and then I play around with this threshold button, take it down, in this case to about 25. You see in the top left up here, 25 dB negative. Attack, usually I keep that close to 30 when I do this, and then I gain match it. So I'll turn when you compress it like this, it turns the volume down, and the gain is where you get that volume back. So I wanted to make sure that the volume, like how loud it was the same whether this compressor was turned on or off. And then the last step with that parallel compression is turn it down to about 50% in the mix. So drums all together without parallel compression and this EQ sound like this. And then with. So I thought that punched a little bit better, sounded better overall. Nice easy tweak that you can make to drums is route all these to this channel, a drum bus, and then these two little plugins, just some EQ and parallel compression. For the vocals, I added Tupac's vocal. EQ'd it a little bit, took out the lows, added some OTT. Mine doesn't seem to be visualizing properly, but it definitely works. You can hear it. I just take this one of the far lefts down to about 30% typically. And then this plugin, Little Altar Boy, I just turn the formant down just a tad. Played around with the drive a little bit too. I thought it sounded better. This is a fun plugin to play around with. Always worth trying on a vocal. And then lastly, I didn't label it, but I used the send for a reverb. So with reverb, you don't want to just throw reverb on this. It's not gonna sound good. You just play the vocal and put reverb on without doing anything else. You want the original signal to be coming through raw without the reverb, and then have that slight echo, that slight reverb kind of more as a background thing. And this today might be kind of more of an old school trick, but I like to route the vocals, in addition to going to the master channel here, as you can see, route them over to this sense, this other channel, and put reverb on, do a high cut, do a low cut, some decay, make it pretty wet, and then I adjust the amount of signal, this knob right here, that's coming through. So if I were to keep it here, it'd be super echoey. Like, I'll show you.
Always was committed.
But you take it down to where I had it there.
Raise a man, always was committed. A poor single mother on welfare. Tell me how you did it.
You get a little bit of reverb, a little bit of that echo, but not so much that it's overwhelming, and you still get that full original signal coming in too. Kick, kind of wanted to duck down the instruments as well. So I routed, this is totally optional, but I think overall it made this track specifically sound better. I routed the sample and the organ to this instrument bus, and hooked the kick up to it. So every time the kick comes
Raise
in,
a man.
you see these ducks. The kick ducks the melodies down a little bit too. This is for the intro. I'll show you that in a minute. Actually, I'll show you that now. As a way to enter the song, I automated the high frequencies on the organ, which I ended up taking, it's not even in the intro, and really the sample, right? So you start play, and then automatically this knob right here is kind of lighting up a little bit. It pulls it to the right. It's a way to kind of slowly build into the song during the intro. It's kind of nice. And then I did the opposite, where it moves the other direction on the way out, the outro. Really the last thing I did was just sidechain the kick and the bass. Which actually, that's what this is. Sidechain the kick and the bass. Every time the kick plays,
All the rules. Shed tears with my baby sister. Over the years, we was poor than another little kid.
every time the kick plays, this ducks down a little bit. So that way the kick and the bass don't interfere with each other. Keep those low frequencies sounding clean. And that's about it. Probably by now you should see a link above to the full finished version of this beat. Go check it out. I thought it sounded pretty good. And then if you have any requests on stuff you want me to teach or anything you want to learn, or if I should stop doing these tutorials altogether, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you next time.